birds because one of their functions is to help keep the bird warm and dry. Now, as you can see on this little feather, it's got some fluffy bits down at the bottom, and that's called down, and that's the bit that sits next to the bird's body and keeps the bird really nice and warm. Now, feathers are almost glued together with something called hooks and barbs. So each one of these is an individual strand, and on one side there is a hook and on the other side is a barb. So if you find a feather and run your fingers down it backwards like that, very, very gently, then it should stay fixed together because the hook and the barb are wrapped around each other. So I pulled a little bit too hard there and broke my feather. Now they're a little bit like Velcro. So on one side there is the hook and the other side there is the barb, and that's what joins them together. Now this is really important because that's what helps keep them waterproof, that and the oil that's on the top of them. So if I give my feather a little spray here, you can see how the water sits on top of the feather and it doesn't soak through. So if it's raining and the bird was outside, then that water would sit on the feather. Now if I tilt my feather down, then the water just drops off. And that's how the birds help keep themselves waterproof. So this is something that you can try at home or at school. If you manage to find a feather, just pick it up and very, very gently just pull it backwards to see whether you are gentle enough not to break it like I did there. Okay, and then when you put it back together, okay, you can just brush it back together and hopefully the hooks will grab hold of the barbs and it will seal itself back together again. So as I mentioned before, feathers are covered in a waxy substance, and this is also what helps make them waterproof. So a task that you can do at home or at school is to get a picture of a bird. It doesn't have to be this one, you can draw it yourself, that's absolutely fine. And then get yourself a wax crayon. Now it has to be wax, that's really important. And the second really important thing is to colour your bird really, really well. Okay, it doesn't matter if it goes out of the lines, but what you need to do is make sure that you cover all of your bird and don't leave any white sections. So if your colouring's like that, you need to go back and cover in the white sections. Okay, that's really important. So this experiment shows how the wax helps keep the bird waterproof. Because what we're going to do in a minute, once we get our bird completely covered, is give it a spray with the water bottle. Now if you don't have a water bottle, don't worry. You can pop a little bit of water on your fingers and splash it on. That's absolutely fine. Okay, or if you've got a water bottle, you can give it a little spray. Okay, now I've still got some white gaps here, but I'm going to leave mine on there, so I will show you what will happen if I leave the white gaps on there. So that's my bird. I've given him a good colour, and now I'm going to give it a spray. So, sprayed the water on, and if you can see in the light, the water isn't soaking through the wax, it's just sitting on the top. Okay, you might be able to see it running. Okay, there you go, it's just run off. Okay, and it's running down. If you turn your picture over and look at the other side, hopefully you've put enough wax crayon on there to make sure that the water doesn't come through. And if you have, then that is the same as how the feather works. The wax stops the water from getting through. If you can see water coming through, then you need to colour your picture a little bit more.